In a shockingly emotional moment, Jon Gosselin talked about his heartbreaking split from his daughter. Fighting back tears, he delivered a powerful message that laid bare the pain and hope that many parents go through in silence. Today, we're going to dig deep into Jon's honest admission of the untold truths behind their broken relationship and what he desperately wants his daughter to know about a fragile father-daughter bond. From the outside, Jon Gosselin seemed to be living a dream 8 kids, a nationally televised show, and, while Jon and Kate's marriage was once shining, a quiet storm was building behind the scenes. The stress of raising sextuplets and twins while filming non-stop took a heavy toll. Jon struggled with conflicting emotions, wanting to keep his kids away from the cameras while also relying on the show's money to support himself. When his marriage to Kate ended in public in 2009, everything changed. Jon lost a sense of normalcy, and the heartbreak spread to all 8 of his children. But his daughter Mai became a particularly painful source of pain. Regret she used to look up to him with admiration, but now there isn't much communication between father and daughter. Jon recently admitted in a heartbreaking interview that he hasn't talked to Mai or her twin sister Kara in more than 10 years. This breakup goes deeper than anyone realizes for Jon. It's not just a case of kids getting older and drifting apart. It's a wound he fights with every day. He remembers the sweet moments they shared together, but now he only wants a simple phone call. Mai's heartbreak became clearer when she publicly made troubling claims about her brother Colin, saying that he had been abusive. Jon thinks that Kate was behind these words. He responded, "I don't accept this," and said that the story Mai told did not match up with the Colin he knows. In the same interview, Jon talked about how helpless he feels because of legal battles, personal differences, and the attention of the media. He talked about how Kate pushed him to the sidelines, leaving him alone with 6 of the children. Colin and Hannah, on the other hand, chose to live with him and live a separate life from their siblings. While being close to them gave Jon some comfort, it also made the distance between him and his other daughters bigger. May, who used to be the active little girl fans saw on TV, is now 22 years old. Many things have changed, including her view on family history. She rarely talks about Jon in public, and when she does, it's usually with a lot of anger. Jon wants a fresh start, but every attempt to talk to her seems to fall apart because of years of anger. He says Kate's story has turned him off from his kids, but he doesn't blame her entirely. He knows that each kid forms their own opinions, even if they're shaped by a complicated past. The result is a broken relationship that makes Jon cry every time he talks about it. Reflecting on how quickly things fell apart, the father who used to hold Mai's hand through life's little worries now watches from afar, not sure if he'll ever be invited back into her life. Life after reality TV didn't deliver the peace Jon Gosselin had hoped it would. After the show ended, all of his actions became fodder for gossip sites. And even though he found work from time to time waiting tables to DJing, he felt like strangers were judging him everywhere he went. He admits the change from suddenly going from a life of cameras to normal daily life was strange. But ironically, he never really left the public eye, because his family drama kept bringing him back into the news. Kate kept filming spin-offs with her kids, which Jon thought only made things worse because he wanted to protect the kids' privacy after the divorce. But Kate said she didn't, because keeping the show going gave her financial security. Whenever Jon tried to object, she painted him in a bad light, and tensions rose. Jon felt like he was being slowly pushed out of his children's lives, especially Mez. Today, Mai is vocal on social media, sometimes pointing out the family's troubled past. Jon says he reads every public statement torn between frustration and sorrow. In mid-2023, Mai made claims about Colin's behavior that suggested he had harmful tendencies, which Jon strongly denied. He accuses Kate of feeding Mai these ideas, even though he knows Mai is old enough to make her own decisions. If there's any way to fix what's been broken. When asked if he had a message for his estranged daughter, Jon spoke with a shaking voice and said, "I still love my daughter. I want her to know that." But he also begged for compassion toward Colin, saying that Mai had no direct knowledge of her brother's life in recent years. Jon says that Colin has shown remarkable growth, even joining the Marine Corps, and the accusations against him are baseless. As a result of their troubled past, custody agreements, protection orders, and the bad feelings that came from their TV drama make it impossible for them to get along again. Jon admits that he's tried to get in touch with Mai and Kara many times, but has been met with silence. He doesn't blame them completely. He just says that negative stories can last for a long time after the cameras stop rolling. One thing that makes things even more complicated is the relationship between siblings. Took different paths. Hannah and Colin stayed with Jay, building a strong bond with their father, while the others stayed with Kate and rarely saw her. As these teens become adults, they were supposed to be able to form their own opinions, without having to deal with parental conflict. Instead, old wounds come up in interviews. Jon looks tired but determined. He says he's done living by other people's scripts, and all he wants is a chance to talk to Mai without lawyers, cameras, or emotional baggage. Whether that wish can come true is still a mystery that he struggles with every day, fueled by the bittersweet memories of a once uniformed household. Hope eludes him still, and there is still conflict behind closed doors. Jon Gosselin's home in Pennsylvania is not at all like the glamorous sets you see on TV these days. It's a simple space where he and his girlfriend Stephanie try to keep a peaceful atmosphere. But news from outside, every new headline or social media post from his arranged children, can bring him right back to the unresolved chaos going on behind closed doors. Jon is thinking about a question he's had for years. How did things get so complicated? One of the most painful parts is Colin's struggle. He was a quiet child who was overshadowed by the family's bigger personalities. In his early teens, Colin was said to have had behavioral problems. Kate's decision to put him in a specialized facility is still controversial. Jon says he wasn't properly consulted and argues that Colin was forced to be alone and eventually moved in with Jon. He told Jon stories about being neglected and going through a lot of emotional pain. Jon has always defended Colin, saying that his son's problems were misunderstood and handled poorly over time. Colin's decision to join the Marine Corps showed his desire to make things better, but he still doesn't get along with his siblings. Mai's recent accusations that Colin might be dangerous hurt Jon deeply, and he points out that Mai hasn't been around Colin for Jon thinks that Mai's comments show deeper problems she has with him. He's tried to respond calmly, but it's clear the wound is still fresh. Stephanie sees how these public fights affect Jon. She calls him a father who feels helpless and is always worried about how the media affects his children's perception. Stephanie also admits that he has flaws and says that Jon sometimes lets his anger get the best of him. But she sees a man who genuinely wants to be a part of his children's lives. Even on days when they laugh again, the next news story can bring up old anger. Much of this conflict, Jon says, goes on behind closed doors. Important documents, endless legal maneuvers, and private messages are kept from curious eyes. Jon is sure that if the whole story came out, public opinion would change, but he's afraid that revealing more details would hurt his already slim chances of getting back together with Mai and the kids. Others say that the thought of a family reunion is so stressful that Jon tries not to think about it too much. Instead, he chooses to focus on small victories, like Colin's progress or Hannah's positive outlook on life. He calls these times his lifeline, but the heartbreak never really goes away, especially when it comes to Mai. In rare moments of weakness, Jon admits that he worries she won't recognize him the next time they meet. The father who used to sing his daughter lullabies is now consumed by the question of whether love is enough. Despite the heartbreak that hangs over him every day, he holds on to hope. But hope can be fragile, just like family ties. Kate Gosselin's unwavering stance over the years has been called controlling, protective, and fiercely independent. She rarely talks to Jon directly, but her actions speak volumes. After the divorce, she kept making appearances in the media, saying that she needed money to support the kids. Critics wondered if she was really being honest. Kate's supporters, on the other hand, say that she kept food on the table and a roof over their heads, no matter what she was trying to do. Jon, on the other hand, doesn't agree with many of Kate's choices, especially her decision to keep the cameras rolling. He says that the constant attention ruined Mai Carrara and the sextuplets' childhood. Kate, on the other hand, has said that the children were fine with filming, and she thinks the show gave them opportunities they might not have had otherwise. Because of their TV appearance, they got lots of trips, gifts, and chances. When Jon complained, Kate stood her ground, saying that he was probably just angry that he wasn't playing as big of a role anymore. The situation got worse when Colin and Hannah moved in with Jon. Kate publicly expressed disappointment, saying that those two children were manipulated. Her comments about Colin often hinted at behavioral problems that needed specialized care. Jon says that Kate made up these problems to justify sending Colin away, kicking him out of the house. The anger between them has now shown in Mia's public comments. Kate hasn't criticized Mia's comments about Colin, which Jon thinks is telling, because it suggests that Kate supports a story that Colin is troubled. When asked about the fact that 6 of her children are no longer living with her, Kate's response has been vague. She says the children chose their own path, which suggests that Jon's actions caused them to leave. but she won't talk about specific incidents, citing there's a sense that she has a lot of power over how the kids feel about Jon. He complains that the kids only know one side of the story. Kate, on the other hand, probably thinks her side is right. In 2023, Kate made brief statements to the press about how much she loved all 8 of her children. People noticed that she avoided naming Jon by name, and when asked about future reconciliation, she didn't give clear answers, instead focusing on the kids' well-being. Outsiders want a big family reunion, but Kate isn't going to change her mind. She's taken a cautious stance and won't move unless she thinks it's in the best interests of her children. Jon isn't sure if Kate is really concerned or just wants to be in charge. She's an immovable force who doesn't want to compromise. He's still holding on to the hope that she might one day see how important it is to heal old wounds. But for now, Kate's firm stance is a major problem. Adds to the sadness and confusion that keeps Mai and her siblings apart, leaving Jon to wonder if their broken world can ever be fixed. His daughter's constant silence makes Kate's stance on the matter even stronger. Jon Gosselin was once the sassy twin who made fun of her siblings on national TV. As she got older, flashes of her teenage years showed someone struggling with the harsh light of the spotlight. Now in her early 20s, Mady has become a major character in the Gosselin family drama, mostly through social media. Her voice connects with fans who remember her as a child, but her view is complicated by living under Kate's roof for years and having little to no contact with Jon. Mi's random posts often show frustration with the family's past, though she rarely names Jon by name. However, her stance against Colin this year got a lot of attention when she called him verbally and physically abusive, which led to a wave of backlash. Many of her fans wondered why she would accuse her brother without any evidence. Jon saw these posts as confirmations of Kate's long-held belief that Colin has deep-seated problems. Mi's hasn't backed down or apologized, even though she deleted some of her posts later. Her fans think she's torn between loyalty to Kate and a desire to escape the chaos, while others think she's never fully processed the divorce and doesn't have a healthy way to express her hurt feelings. She feels like she's taking control of her story and separating herself from a father she thinks has left the family. In interviews, Jon talked about how upset he was about Mi's comments, firmly stating that Colin doesn't deserve such accusations. He also asked her how she could judge her brother when she has no relationship with him. Mady, on the other hand, hasn't said more about what happened with her claims, and her silence only leads to more speculation. Did she experience something with Colin that made her feel dangerous, or does her view only come from stories? She has heard from Mi's childhood friends that she feels protective of Kate and her younger brothers, and may see Jon's side as betrayal. Any attempt by Jon to get in touch could be seen as fake because of the years of anger. Mi's relationship with Kara also seems strong, which keeps the twins away from Jon. Since they can't talk to each other directly, these emotional barriers make it hard for them to connect. Critics say Mai is making public drama for attention's sake, but supporters say she's just a young adult trying to figure out how to deal with a complicated family dynamic. They point to the fact that she stayed in college and pursued her own interests as evidence that she's building a life separate from the chaos that was her childhood. The question remains, is she purposely cutting Jon out, or does she really believe that they can't get back together? Jon's heartbreak is palpable. He sees Mai as his daughter forever. Mady's point of view suggests that she is carrying her own pain, a story that few truly understand, until she chooses to reveal more or make peace privately. Her point of view remains a powerful, if mysterious force in the Gosselin saga. Jon breaks down in tears. During an emotional interview in late 2023, Jon Gosselin faced his feelings on national television. He talked about his estranged daughter Mai, with a vulnerability that viewers rarely see. In the middle of a sentence, his voice began to quiver. The man who had been the confident father figure suddenly turned into a man who couldn't hold back his tears, as he finally spoke about the heartbreak he'd been avoiding for so long. "I just want her to know," Jon began, his voice shaking, "that no matter what she thinks of me, I've never stopped loving her. I've never stopped hoping she would call those words simple, because they carried the weight of a decade of missed opportunities, birthdays, unanswered texts, and the specter of a split that changed everything." At that moment, Jon stopped being seen as the rebellious ex-husband and became a father pleading for a connection with his estranged daughter. He thought back to small, happy memories of his daughter, like when she was 5 and dancing in the living room, or reading bedtime stories, while sitting on his lap and giving him that big, happy smile whenever she wanted something. Each memory seemed to make his pain worse. He remembered every laugh and hug. He wiped his eyes and said, I'd give anything to have that again. As he went on, Jon read from a heartbreaking message he had written for Mai years ago, but never sent. In it, he told her how sorry he was, how much he wanted to fix what was wrong, and how ready he was to be her dad again. I kept waiting for the right moment, he said, his voice cracking. But the moment never came, and now I'm still waiting, still praying she'll see this and understand. I'm not the man she's been led to believe I am in the movie. After the interview, videos of Jon crying went viral online. Many people were sad and wanted Mai to respond, while others thought Jon was acting to get sympathy. Jon's close friends and girlfriend Stephanie insisted that his tears were real, saying that he'd lie awake at night watching old videos and photos of the kids. Stephanie said that even the smallest reminders, like a commercial with twins or a father-daughter dance on TV, could send him spiraling into depression. Jon knows that a video going viral might not heal the rift, but he felt compelled to speak out. I can't control what she believes, he said softly, but I can let her see my heart. And this is it, raw, broken, and still full of love for her. For him, being vulnerable is the only way to get through life, when all other options seem impossible. That day, Jon's tears showed more than just how sorry he was. They showed how much he still loves Mai, the daughter he longs to embrace once more. Again, people quickly responded with both sympathy and doubt, but the father's tears said it all. The Gosselin family was still split up months after Jay's emotional interview went viral. Colin showed his support for Jon by highlighting the good relationship they've built, and Hannah continued to stand by her father by posting happy updates that showed a new sense of normalcy in their home. However, the other siblings, including Mai, kept their distance, and no public statements were made to address the situation. After Jay's tearful plea behind closed doors, tensions rose. Sources close to Kate said she was angry about Jay's interview and saw it as an attempt to manipulate her. She reportedly questioned his motives and told him he should focus on direct communication instead of media appearances. Jon said he couldn't reach Mai privately, and that going public was his only option, a desperate attempt to break through a wall of silence. Meanwhile, Kara, who hasn't said much about the family drama, was said to be quietly supporting Mai. They have always been close, and some people think that Kara shares Mady's doubts about Jon. Both sisters are still in college, which keeps them away from home. There aren't many social media posts from them, and Kate is very protective of their privacy. A group reunion doesn't seem likely, because the grown children have their own lives, dreams and friends, making the idea of everyone getting together under one roof seem even more unrealistic. Holidays pass without any public signs of reconciliation on Jay's part. He tries to focus on creating a good environment for Colin and Hannah, but the absence of his other 6 kids looms over them like a dark cloud. Stephanie has tried to mediate, but in a quiet way. She believes in open communication, and once told Jon to try sending letters, but each one was either returned unopened or never acknowledged. She says that silence hurts him more than any public sign of reconciliation. Friends talk about Jon's mood swings, one day hopeful, the next depressed, and how much he seems to want Mai to accept him. The desire for Mai's acceptance seems to weigh especially heavy on his mind. Meanwhile, the media is still fascinated by the family's ongoing conflict. Documentaries, podcasts, and talk shows often revisit the story, analyzing every statement for hidden meaning. Each new rumor starts a new debate among fans, who remember watching Jon, Kate, and their 8 children deal with everyday chaos on TV. This was the initial appeal of Jon for outsiders. The solution might seem simple: pick up the phone, set up a visit, and talk it out. But people who are familiar with the family drama say that too much water has already been spilled. Mistrust, anger, and different versions of what happened make for a maze that no one can get out of. Jon thinks that time could heal these wounds if he could just tell his side of the story. But every month that goes by, he doesn't hear from Mai or as we look ahead to tomorrow. Time moves on, even though some people are still upset about things that happened in the past. Jon Gosselin wakes up every day wondering if today will be the day he finally hears from Mai and his other kids. He's torn between expecting more disappointment and daring to imagine a conversation that could lead to healing. So far, that call hasn't come, leaving him in a place where hope and despair exist side by side. Focuses on the kids she still has with her, and works hard to keep outsiders from seeing them. She says her priorities are clear, and she won't give in to pressure for a reunion. Mai and Kara are still in college, creating separate identities that don't seem to include Jon. The younger siblings are either finishing high school or beginning new chapters as young adults. Each is making plans that are very different from the crazy family dynamic that used to be on TV. Jon looks at everyday activities, like making dinner with Colin and Hannah, or spending a quiet night with Stephanie, give him a glimpse of normalcy, which he used to think was impossible. But every once in a while, he is reminded that his 6 children are still far away, separated not only by geography but also by anger. There is still a lot of talk about a family reconciliation, and some fan forums hold on to the idea that once the sextuplets reach their mid-20s, they'll find their own truths without any filters. Although Jon is open to the idea, he knows that time can also widen gaps, if steps aren't taken to heal them. After all, missing a few years of milestones is one thing, but missing a whole decade is quite another. Outside voices, from media commentators to armchair psychologists, never stop arguing about who is to blame, who exploited whom, and whether redemption is even possible at this point. Jon is tired of these stories and insists that he doesn't care about how people see him. Reconnecting with each child on a personal level is still his main goal, especially getting back in touch with Mai because they used to be so close. Meanwhile, Jon is proud and relieved to see Colin's progress in the Marine Corps, and seeing him turn his problems into discipline feeds his belief in second chances. Hannah is still the voice telling her father to keep trying, even when it seems like a lost cause, and Stephanie agrees, reminding him that solutions often come from the strangest places. Think Mai or the other kids will ever get back in touch with Jon? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and follow for more real-life stories that matter.